Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. This is huge. To my super chat, your support is greatly appreciated. I'll try to do a live stream tonight. I'll definitely have an upload. So be here on the channel this evening as well. But hit subscribe to my super chat. Thank you. This is from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Tulsi Gabbard, new evidence of Obama administration effort to subvert President Trump's 2016 victory and presidency. I'm not making anything up. It's about 10 years too late, but it's better late than never. And it took about 10 years for President Trump to compile enough evidence. Well, the entire American intelligence agency, the community that was leveled against President Trump for the past 10 years is now under the control of President Trump's administration. Thank God. We could find out how Democrats lied, conspired, fabricated a terrible hoax. This was a McCarthy-era Red Scare, complete fabricated fantasy of Democrats. And that's why you're going to get, according to the Central Intelligence Director, Trump's CIA chief, Brennan Comey, and Hillary Clinton face indictment. They've likely already written the indictment, almost certainly. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. You'll hear the director of the Central Intelligence Director in a second. I'm just going to give you a quick recap. They cheated Bernie Sanders in 2016. They cheated Bernie Sanders in 2016. We know that from the DNC emails. Bernie Sanders was essentially a tool of the Democratic Party. Had he focused on Clinton's email fiasco, which was the greatest cybersecurity nightmare of all time, had the Federal Bureau of Investigation under Comey did what they were supposed to do and indict somebody who obviously committed crimes, setting up private secret servers, deleting thousands and thousands of emails, 30,000 emails, I believe, and classified data, storing and receiving information marked classified onto secret private servers outside of the United States government. It is literally impossible to do. Yet Clinton was able to do that. That is almost certainly not only a criminal act, but an act that takes a whole bunch of crimes for it to even exist. There's no legal way to set up private servers in the U.S. government. You cannot set up a private server and then transfer data from the Department of Defense like Clinton did through emails. And Comey basically saved Clinton and then wrote the Comey letter because he found even more data being forwarded to Anthony Weiner, classified data. He's on record as stating that under oath. Then, of course, there was a quote-unquote insurance policy. And what took place, ladies and gentlemen, is they set up and framed Trump because the Democrats were so utterly, and it's not all Democrats, it's not all liberals. I don't want it to seem like it's everyone. There's a lot of really wonderful people who are Democrats and liberal Democrats and progressives and leftists or whatever. But the Democratic Party created an insidious, evil, nefarious, diabolical scheme to deceive the entire country into thinking that Trump was a Kremlin operative. And they dipped into a well, this subconscious within our psyche, political psyche, this Cold War hysteria. And they said he was a Kremlin operative. He worked with Russia. They interfered. They wanted Trump. Well, it was Democrats who used private servers. It's Democrats who use laptops for bribery and graft. We just knew that for the past 5 years or so. That was hidden also, and there's no statute of limitations for any of this. The Democratic Party, Clinton campaign, Comey, Brennan, all of them, Clapper, what they did was frame and set up an innocent man. Donald Trump was an innocent man. And they used a Steele dossier to do so, which was completely fabricated and literally purchased by Clinton. Then they used law firms to create that dossier. And everything they did initially under the guise or under the allure of legality, under the facade, I should say, of legality. From buying that dossier to going after Trump, all of these things they did through government agencies, loyalists within government who are now either fired, disgraced, or working at MSNBC. Basically, but I repeat myself. So hit subscribe to this channel. This is huge. This is the director of Central Intelligence Agency Director, John Ratcliffe, coming up, and you will hear exactly what's going on.
Something this audience has suspected for a long time, that President Barack Obama may have been pulling the strings after Trump won in the November 2016 election, pushing a plan to muddy up the incoming president's name and handicap his new administration with a phony story about Russia. This past week, DNA Gabbard sent criminal referrals to the Department of Justice, and the DOJ announced the formation of that strike force to evaluate the evidence presented. Coming up, the timeline to destroying Trump's reputation with the two men who saw it coming from day one while exposing the Russia collusion with Trump made-up fantasy concocted by Hillary Clinton and her 2016 presidential campaign. CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Trump Media and Telecom CEO Devin Nunes are here. Just days after Director of National Intelligence Gabbard declassified the House Intelligence Committee report prepared in 2020 based on then Congressman Nunes' investigation that the intelligence community did not have any direct information or evidence that Russian President Putin wanted to help elect Donald Trump in 2016. Despite the assessment repeatedly listed in the daily presidential briefing, then President Obama ordered a new report which completely contradicted the original assessment. Here's DNI Telsey with me here exclusively last Sunday.
The tasks that came out of that meeting was coming from President Obama directing the intelligence community, then Obama's ODNI director Clapper, to produce a document, to produce an intelligence assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow affected the outcome of the election that had already occurred, electing Donald Trump to the presidency. This document that they published in January of 2017.
CIA Director John Ratcliffe will join me shortly. But first, a flashback to 2018 with me here 7 years ago.
It's very troubling. Again, all of this ties in. It's not just Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, Maria. What's important and significant about what Devin Nunes told you earlier is more than 70 witnesses appeared before the House Intelligence Committee. All of them were asked the same question. What evidence do you have of Russian collusion with Donald Trump or the Trump campaign? What evidence do you have of conspiracy? What evidence do you have of coordination? And they batted 1,000 in their response. These are folks like Susan Rice and Samantha Power, senior DOJ and department officials and intelligence and law enforcement officials, and they all said, we don't have any. So what we have known and what I want the public to see from these transcripts is that our law enforcement and intelligence communities have known for a while that there isn't evidence of Russian collusion with Donald Trump or the Trump campaign, and the sooner the public finds that out.
So this is the new director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Okay, John Ratcliffe. We used to have John Brennan. We went from Brennan to Ratcliffe. Okay, we went from Clapper to Tulsi Gabbard. We went from Comey to Kash Patel. Rome wasn't built in a day, but God bless President Trump. He took a gigantic orange wrecking ball and completely destroyed the monstrosity, the fortress, the liberal Democratic Party government-funded fortress, political fortress. I mean, Trump has completely demolished, and that's why there was that attempt on his life. They wanted that, they wanted, God forbid, their own Zapruder film that they could show for generations, saying, hey, you know what, if you have somebody like Trump, they ain't going to get away with it. God forbid, potentially, possibly. I'm just speculating here. And one firefighter lost his life protecting his family. Interesting that the New York Times, the Washington Post really haven't done any investigative journalism on why a firefighter lost his life, why there was an attempt on Trump's life. Well, why do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Donald Trump is the Charles Bronson of American politics. He's the Chuck Norris, Charles Bronson. He is the He is the lone protagonist, the hero, going up against forces seemingly greater than him, than who he is. And he took on the entire United States government while it was almost virtually controlled by never Trump Republicans, Bush Republicans, and he won. And it's really an amazing thing. What Donald Trump was able to do is something that I don't think I would say in world history, very few people in world history have been able to do what Donald Trump has been able to do, thank God. Okay, Democrats were the baddies in all of this. They don't think that they are, but they'll soon find out that they broke many, many, many laws, almost certainly.
The better off we'll all be.
And joining me right now, back 7 years later in the Sunday Morning Futures exclusive, is the current director of the CIA, once again, John Ratcliffe. Director, thanks so much for being here this morning.
Great to see you, Maria. Great to be back with you.
And thank you for all of your truth-telling over the years. We will speak with Devin Nunes, who opened this up wide so many years ago. But I want to get your reaction to what we're seeing now with Tulsi Gabbard highlighting the truth here, as you have done so many years ago.
Well, Maria, before the intelligence community assessment that D&I Gabbard was talking about, and before Devin Nunes' report about that intelligence community assessment, before the Mueller investigation, before Crossfire Hurricane, there was this. In the summer of 2016, U.S. intelligence intercepted Russian intelligence talking about a Hillary Clinton plan to falsely accuse Donald Trump of Russia collusion, to vilify him and smear him with what would become known infamously as the Steele dossier. And Maria, this intelligence was so explosive that John Brennan briefed President Obama, Vice President Biden, Jim Clapper, James Comey, the entire national security team, telling them about this Hillary Clinton plan. Again, but think about this, Maria. That was in August of 2016, and yet it wasn't until more than 4 years later, in October of 2020, when I found, after an exhaustive search, John Brennan's handwritten notes and the underlying intelligence behind it, that revealed exactly what happened. So for a 4-year period of time, the truth about the origins of the Russia collusion hoax was hidden from the American people. And unfortunately, Maria, as you recall, those...
So if these are indeed Brennan's handwritten notes, okay, alleged approved by Hillary Clinton. All right. And so normally you would say, well, this is just, information that misinforms. Well, so what if Russian intelligence came up with this? That could be just complete nonsense. And I agree with that. You shouldn't really rely on this type of thing. But she purchased the Steele dossier. The DNC literally took Bernie Sanders' campaign donations. Literally, the money that Bernie Sanders... Oh, I'm tired of speaking about your emails. Bernie Sanders was a tool of the Democratic Party. He was just there as a prop, almost, a political prop. He still is. So is Elizabeth Warren and AOC. There is no actual... It's not a political party. It's like performance art. It's political theater. They don't stand for anything. The same Democrats or liberals that are like, oh, socialism's great. Medicare for all, man. It's like, well, you had Bernie Sanders ran against somebody with an active criminal investigation who illegally transferred top secret intel onto private secret servers. And then what does he say? Oh, I'm tired of your emails. Well, that's how much he cares about the working class and the poor. I mean, these people, Democrats, they have this big, oh my God, we care so much about the poor and single payer health care. When it comes down to it, it's a political machine. Bernie Sanders was, and I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. The Washington Post called me the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters. That's embarrassing for me and people who still like Bernie Sanders. The issue is that Bernie Sanders is a part of all of this. He is one of the reasons that Hillary Clinton and Democrats went after Trump. The fact that they cheated Bernie Sanders and that we all found out only fueled the Democratic Party's effort to deceive the entire electorate. They were so utterly corrupt in what they did to Bernie Sanders that they had to create a new Cold War. That's the type of insidious, nefarious political party we're dealing with.
Those same people were already at that point in time onto their next hoax, the Hunter Biden laptop. This was a month before the 2020 election. And unfortunately, what we saw with Joe Biden's election was another 4 years to be able to continue to bury the truth. And so it's only now, with Donald Trump having been reelected, that through DNI Gabbard, myself, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, all of this intelligence, all of this evidence that's been hidden and buried from the American people is finally coming to light.
Yeah. We just showed a picture of John Brennan's notes, and I want to go back to those because you just referenced them. These are handwritten notes that John Brennan took during that meeting with Obama and the other top lieutenants, where he writes that Russia is aware of the Hillary Clinton plan to tie Donald Trump to a Russia story. And
they don't believe how toxic this is. If you're still using a plastic
notes is something that you highlighted many times, that Devin Nunes highlighted many times. Is this what you're saying was hidden, these handwritten notes and the obvious story right then and there in the meeting with President Obama, where John Brennan was writing notes down as far as what he was telling and discussing with that team?
Well, think about it, Maria. During that 4-year period of time, think about the countless interviews that Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Jim Clapper, James Comey, John Brennan gave to the public, and testimony that they gave under oath about how Russia was involved in our election. And not one time, not a single time, did they ever reference what became verified intelligence, a Hillary Clinton plan. Verified, Maria, because in 2020, Hillary Clinton's own campaign manager took the oath under penalty of perjury in the trial of Michael Sussman and was asked about this plan and said, yes, there was a plan, and Hillary Clinton personally approved it. So all they did was talk about the fake Steele dossier, but never talked about the true intelligence, the true origins of the Russia collusion hoax, was that this was a Hillary Clinton campaign scheme. Yeah. Really incredible. And, Devin Nunes, your next guest, truly an American hero trying to bring these things to light.
Devin Nunes, John Ratcliffe, these are all, Nunes was definitely a hero. These are all people that we need right now in this country. Okay, the Russians didn't, it wasn't, everyone knew it was complete nonsense. You don't even need those handwritten notes, although John Ratcliffe has a lot more, almost certainly. John Ratcliffe is a brilliant man. And Tulsi Gabbard is an absolutely brilliant woman, human being. I mean, these are all very intelligent people, a lot smarter than their predecessors. And the reason is that for a long time, for about 10 years, I remember when I first started this channel, I was writing in The Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, and it was being published by them, I should say, and other publications. People would say, oh, H.A. Goodman thinks that Hillary's going to be indicted. How ridiculous. Why would that be absurd? You have complete imbeciles who have like 2 million, 3 million sub-channels who were going after me because they were completely part of the deception. There was this, people were so incredulous. How could Clinton be indicted? Well, if you commit this major crime, look what they did to Trump. He didn't even do anything. He didn't even commit any crimes. They fabricated everything with Trump just because it was a quest for power, political power. And you have these people on the left that are such imbeciles, not all of them, but certain pundits. They're so inept. And they're the reason, thank God, that Trump is a two-term president. Literally everything they've said has been wrong. And almost everything I've said has either come to fruition or will come to fruition. There should never have been people in disbelief thinking that Hillary Clinton or anyone couldn't be indicted. Especially when they committed so many egregious, brazen acts of criminal behavior. Clinton had servers with top secret intelligence transferred onto them. That is completely illegal. And Bernie Sanders, the vanguard of the working class, this is why the whole thing is performance art, said, I'm tired of talking about your emails. Do you think that if Bernie Sanders had emails that were hidden and on secret servers, that Clinton would say, I'm tired of talking about your emails? That would never happen. They would destroy and crush anyone in their way, including Bernie, which is what they already did. He was so, he was so docile, and they still crushed him. And he said nothing about it. And the people who reported it, okay, Julian Assange, Bernie Sanders should have defended Assange. He reported on the corrupt, deceitful, disgusting behavior of Democrats towards Bernie Sanders. But you're talking about a man who talks the talk, but he doesn't walk the walk. And so you had Assange, who suffered greatly, immensely over the years for telling the truth. What did he do? He told the truth about the Democrats. And everyone knew that Clinton committed crimes, including people who voted for Clinton. Then they tried to convince themselves that Trump committed crimes and that Trump is worse. But that was impossible to do because they committed so many crimes. They had to go above and beyond and fabricate so many absurd things about Trump just so they could make everything level. And still, people were coming back to the same thing we came back to 10 years ago. Clinton, Brennan, Comey, all of them, Clapper, they all committed overt criminal acts. And now they're going to get indicted, which is what should have taken place. I mean, you had how many friends and family, how many people lost friends and family over the years? Okay, Awake Canadian, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Awake Canadian, greatly appreciated. To my super chat, thank you. How many people have lost friends and family because the good liberal in your life wanted to disown you? Couldn't speak. Trump is a menace. He's a two-term president. Okay? It was about power and control, and Trump took that away from them. And he did so because he was popular and because he stood for enforcing immigration laws, bringing manufacturing back, and stopping never-ending military conflict and wars. He was the anti-war choice, and that's why he won. He was everything that Bernie Sanders really was supposed to be in 2016. Trump is everything. Bernie Sanders is against open borders too. And the Democrats cheated Bernie. They created a new Cold War, and now they're getting indicted for overt criminal activity. And the same pundits who said, oh, H.A. Goodman, he said that Hillary's going to be indicted. It's like, well, you imbeciles should have wanted that, because if you really cared about Medicare for all, single payer, Green New Deal, all these things that the left really doesn't care about at all, they just crave power. If power means voting for Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden, the furthest left socialist communists will do so. It's not about values for them. It's about political power, which is now they have very little political power left, because they committed so many crimes, and they just let their own politicians get away with it. I can go on forever.
And again, now we have the opportunity to do exactly that.
Yeah, he sure is a hero, and so are you, Director. Look, our audience knows this, thanks to you and thanks to Devin Nunes.
Money-making mentor, hello, yes. Yes. Awake Canadian, thank you again. Thank you so much. To my super chat, thank you.
As our audience is well aware of what took place here, but we want to see accountability. Many of the statute of limitations have expired. It's been almost 10 years for many of these folks who did this. But John Brennan testified.
The statute of limitations for conspiracy doesn't exist in this case, because they've continued to hide to this day. So there is no statute of limitations for this particular crime.
To Congress, and so did Hillary Clinton, within 5 years. I think it was in 2020, right, and then again in 2021. Are those statute of limitations still live? Tell me if, in fact, we could see a criminal prosecution here, as you just the other day, 3 weeks ago, have in fact referred criminal referrals to the DOJ.
Well, Maria, so part of what came out last week was about how John Brennan, Clapper, Comey, they all pushed the known fake Steele dossier into intelligence community assessments and as the basis for Crossfire Hurricane and all that.
These glasses destroyed a
out yet, and what's going to come out is the underlying intelligence that I have spent the last few months making recommendations about final declassification and sent that to the Department of Justice that will come out in the John Durham report classified annex. And what that intelligence shows, Maria, is that part of this was a Hillary Clinton plan, but part of it was an FBI plan to be an accelerant to that fake Steele dossier, to those fake Russia collusion claims, by pouring oil on the fire, by amplifying the lie and burying the truth of what Hillary Clinton was up to. And you're right, Maria. John Brennan testified to John Durham in August of 2020. He also testified to the House Oversight Committee in 2022. Hillary Clinton testified before John Durham under oath in 2022. James Comey testified before the Senate committee in September 2020. All of that's within the last 5 years. And much of that testimony is, frankly, completely inconsistent with what our underlying intelligence that is about to be declassified in the Durham Annex, what that reflects. And so, you know, Pam Bondi does have a strike force. It is a different Department of Justice, a different FBI, and an opportunity to look at how these people really did conspire to run a hoax, a fraud on the American people and against Donald Trump's presidency. And so coming forward, we understand that they did this, but now we need to understand how they did this. And I think that's why you see the left losing their minds over this, Maria, saying, why are you spending time? This is vindictive. You're going back. This is Donald Trump, you know, seeking retribution.
So this is what Democrats have done. They went after Trump in the most diabolical, nefarious, insidious way. And then they say, oh my God, we committed crimes trying to set him up and frame him. How dare he try to indict us? This is terrible. He's using the government as his own personal, these personal attorneys to go after anyone he doesn't like. It's all political. It's political in nature. It's retribution. It's political retribution. They committed political retribution. They went after him first. They committed crimes going after him and fabricating and setting up an innocent man. Donald Trump was an innocent man. They set him up and framed him, just like a Charles Bronson or Chuck Norris or like, Sylvester Stallone movie. It's that one John Wayne movie. It's like the hero is going up against, unimaginable odds. Everyone's against him, and he still comes out and wins and gets not revenge, not retribution, but justice. Donald Trump was set up, framed. Everyone around him was indicted under stupid, absurd, these dumb leaps of logic. You'd have to be a complete imbecile to think that Trump worked with the Kremlin and he tried to interfere in the 2020. They kicked out Biden because he was so utterly, unfortunately, God bless him, wish him only the best, he was so inept. He couldn't even communicate. He couldn't do anything. Even George Clooney said, we have enough with him. Well, okay. But then Trump has a point there. How did he lose to this man? And they said, he tried to interfere. And they went after him in New York, run by Democrats. Tammany Hall indicted him, convicted him. And then they say, on grounds that were not even legal, a state cannot use an FEC statute when the FEC dropped the case. This is basic law. You don't have to be a lawyer or attorney to understand this. They did so many things that were unethical, immoral, unconstitutional, illegal. And then they say, oh my God, Trump is indicting the same people who tried to destroy him. Yeah, he's going to indict the people who tried to destroy him. I mean, Donald Trump is not Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders could get walked all over and completely just humiliated by the DNC and say nothing about it. And Trump is not that type of person. If you tried it, he's not that type of person. He fights for the electorate, for the country, but definitely for his voters. Not like Democrats, but let's continue.
It's not. Donald Trump's election by the American people was a statement, Maria. They said to everyone, we know what you did to Donald Trump, and we reelected him because we know this was all fake. We know it was a hoax. Now we want to understand how you did it so that it can't happen again. And that's what this declassification process that we're undergoing right now, what's going on, why it's so important, and why there can be accountability and preventability to prevent these same people that did it in 2016 with the Steele dossier, with the Hunter Biden laptop in 2020, from doing it again in the future.
So what I think I hear you saying is there is still an opportunity for indictments, potential prosecutions, accountability from those people who may have lied under oath, like John Brennan.
You ever wonder why these fake, phony, sad, very wealthy, progressive or liberal pundits with 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million sub channels, you ever wonder why they never wanted Clinton to be indicted, or Brennan, or anyone? You ever wonder why they still voted Clinton after Bernie Sanders was cheated in the Democratic primary that didn't even exist? You ever wonder why none of them defended Julian Assange? I wrote in the Daily Caller 2 articles defending Julian Assange, saying that President Trump should pardon him. And you ever wonder why these people who obsess over Trump, they get their marching orders from CNN and MSNBC, and then they claim they're the furthest left? I'm conservative on most things now. I've changed completely. But do you ever wonder why American leftists or American liberals or progressives are so willing to accept rampant criminality in their own political party? And not even not just criminality, but like not only criminality, like they don't even have a functioning primary. They don't even have primaries. It's a complete performance art. They cheated Bernie Sanders. Biden won his primary. The man won his primary, and they still kicked him out. Why do they even have primaries? It's like a complete farce. They should just, if they were honest, and pick somebody. They'll probably pick a person with the same complexion as Joe Biden, well, just for the algorithm, who is a veteran and male, and then they'll probably try to do that in 2028. Okay, and so they'll go through the whole process, and they'll say, "Oh my God, this person won," and then things will happen where last second he'll win a what? How did he win Iowa? What? Or this is crazy. And then the progressives will get upset. This is what they did to Bernie Sanders. And then they'll be rallied back in. J.D. Vance is too scary. And then like, okay, they just fall in line. And then they'll disown friends and family who vote for J.D. Vance. The same thing. It's like a religion. These are the Democrats have become an atheistic political religion that allows rampant criminality, while at the same time fabricating crimes to make everything even, or to make the level the playing field, because they're so utterly corrupt. They have to convince everyone that Trump is worse when Trump is completely innocent. And it's all hearsay, gossip, rumor, and they're the ones with computer servers, transferred illegally top secret intel, laptops, graft, bribery. I mean, like, Trump is a billionaire because he became a billionaire through business. They're millionaires through graft and bribery. It's completely different. But let's continue.
James Comey and perhaps Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's why I've made the referrals that I have. DNI Gabbard has made referrals, and why we're going to continue to share the intelligence that would support the ability of our Department of Justice to make bring fair and just claims against those who have perpetrated this hoax against the American people and this stain on our country.
Director, one other question on this. Tulsi, as well as President Trump, used the word treason. Is there a statute of limitations on treason?
Well, Maria, what I would say is this, is there is no doubt in my mind that the people that we just talked about conspired. They conspired against President Trump. They conspired against the American people. And so I'll leave it to Pam Bondi and our Department of Justice, Kash Patel and our FBI to investigate the conspiracy to do what and what charges that they're capable of bringing. But again, I don't think statute of limitations are going to impact, because on the conspiracy, Maria, the statute of limitation doesn't start to run until the last act in furtherance of that conspiracy. And Maria, part of why this is so important is the people behind this are still furthering the conspiracy. They're refusing to admit.
And what happened just there? the Honorable Director John Ratcliffe just told everyone, without telling everyone, that they're still compiling evidence. They're compiling evidence at this moment, okay, for the indictment. Clinton will get indicted, okay? And I've been saying that eventually, Brennan, Comey maybe not. The only person who might not get indicted is James Comey, because he might give the goods, potentially. That's how he speaks, so potentially. He was asked if the Honorable James Comey was asked, would you testify against Andrew McCabe, your good friend at the FBI? Potentially. He was asked by Jake Tapper in like 2017, 2018 on CNN. He said potentially, possibly, potentially. I'm the only person on the planet who found that amusing. But anyway, they're all going to turn on each other. Clapper will turn on everyone. He already turned on President Obama in 2018. He's like, well, we only did it because of the president. And so they're all going to, when everything they said would happen to Trump, he's going to flip and sing. They're all going to flip and sing on themselves. See, they actually committed crimes. You can't, okay, really quickly, if there's a Democrat watching, okay, probably a wonderful human being, but in terms of politics, you can't set up and frame innocent people. It's against the law. 18 U.S. Code 371 is one statute. You can't set up and frame innocent human beings. It is not only immoral, but there are laws against it that you broke. Okay? Trump did not work with the Kremlin. Trump did not try to overturn the sanctity of Biden's victory, whatever, quote unquote, 5 years ago. Okay? He didn't do any of those things. So everything you accuse Trump of doing, which is why a unanimous Supreme Court overturned the absurd Colorado verdict, trying to kick Trump off the ballot. He tried to overthrow the government. No, he didn't, you imbecile. That was one terrible day. Multiply that times like months and months. That's what Democrats get away with. Democrats made stupid, absurd, completely outlandish leaps of logic with Trump. But when they committed crimes, they're very simple to understand. They transferred top secret intelligence onto servers. They committed graft and bribery on a laptop. But in terms of this, they set up and framed an innocent man. That is illegal. Trump was innocent. There was not a shred of evidence to ever point to him working with the Kremlin, because the Kremlin, is so. They cheated Bernie Sanders, which is one of the reasons they lost, and then the Comey letter, which is probably the biggest reason they lost, and the fact that they've had Hillary Clinton, Biden, and Kamala Harris, three of the most wonderful candidates of all time. And they don't even have functioning primaries, and they don't stand for anything, they don't believe in anything. So they're not running on Medicare for all, or Green New Deal, or anything like that. But anyway, let's continue.
Admit or acknowledge what they did in 2016 and what they did in 2020 was wrong. And so I think that's why this is so important and why I'm excited about what the American people will see very shortly and what's to continue to come.
We'll wait for that John Durham report and the annexed classified declassification and release of that in this week or in the upcoming week. But real quick before you go, Director, not only did the Russia collusion lie destroy people's lives, rip the country apart, but it also diverted energy and resources away from the real threats. So you have people like Adam Schiff, who is now a senator, completely ignoring the fact that Americans were relying on China for their critical elements that we need. For example, today, we rely on 90% of our prescription drugs for China. They're made in China. And so all of this was 100%. Going on, and they were yelling, Russia, 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 and in fact, not even focusing on the actual threats. That, in my view, is a dereliction of duty.
100%, Maria, completely agree. And don't limit it to China. So the mess that we just cleaned up, the Trump administration cleaned up with regard to Iran and its pursuit of a nuclear weapon, what's happening in Ukraine with.
So let's continue. Basically, the pendulum has swung so far towards President Trump. They're just preparing indictments. It'll probably happen within 4 or 5 months. We'll see, maybe longer, but check this out.
Newly declassified documents from the Durham investigation raising new questions about Hillary Clinton's role in Russiagate. The 29-page annex from the report shows Hillary's role in the false collusion narrative as she faced her own email scandal. One section reading, HRC approved Julia's idea about Trump and Russia hackers hampering U.S. elections. That should distract people from her own missing email, especially if the affair goes to the Olympic level. The White House is calling for accountability.
This is further evidence that Hillary Clinton approved the Russia hoax against President Trump. Her campaign financed it. Again, she approved it. And the FBI and the CIA were both weaponized to the president wants to see justice serves, and he trusts the Attorney General and the Department of Justice to implement that justice and hold these people accountable.
The New York Post editorial board writing, quote, Russiagate was never anything more than Hillary Clinton's paid-for lies. Jonathan Turley says Democrats pulled the greatest political con job ever on Americans. It is finally unraveling. Kat Kammack, Florida Congresswoman, joins us now. Congresswoman, welcome to you. So is it unraveling?
Absolutely. And it's about time. This has been going on for years. And we know, of course, that the Steele dossier was just simply opposition research that was paid for by the DNC and the Clinton campaign and conducted by our intel services. Really a slap in the face to all of the men and women who have made careers out of trying to get to the truth, to build real cases. And in this case, they were asked, and in some cases demanded, to manufacture false information so that the Hillary campaign and Obama advocates could basically take President Trump down. They knew that this was false information and they pushed it anyway. The annex that has come out is just further proof that this has been the weaponization tactic of the left. We need true accountability, because if there is none, then this is the type of stuff that's going to continue to move forward in the future. There absolutely has to be accountability. We need to make sure that this does not get swept under the rug, because at its core, when you weaponize the intel community, as we saw the Hillary campaign and the Obama team do, what you get is a break in national security. The intel community cannot be compromised like this.
Well, we know you and your colleagues are on that. We'll keep following it. Meanwhile, quite the revelation from the latest Biden aide to testify behind closed doors in the House oversight probe of the former president's competency.
Big Tex, thank you so much for the kind words. Awake Canadian, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel. I will be back this evening. I'll probably have an upload. It's going to happen. It's basically already happened, but it's essentially a done deal. This is 10 years in the making. Rome wasn't built in a day. I understand everybody saying, well, you know, it's not going to happen, da-da-da. We'll be doing a lot of work on this, as will everybody. You'll hear this, you know, I was talking about this 10 years ago, but, you know, you'll hear this 9 years ago. You'll hear this everywhere, every day for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months. This is a huge sea change, paradigm shift in American politics. It's an honor and a privilege, and I'm blessed, and I thank God that I can be with you through these moments in American history. It's really a privilege and an honor and a blessing to have, you know, the ability to give my thoughts and opinions for so long. And this month and every month onward, I'll be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos a day. So check